I think that right now is one of the most amazing times in history to be a documentary filmmaker. You know, because I know the last thing a parent wants is his kid coming home and saying, you know, I want to be a filmmaker. You know, it's like, you couldn't want to be a doctor? You know? One of the reasons I think this is the most amazing time is because of what documentaries have been able to do recently. You know, there are amazing opportunities for documentary filmmakers because the world is in desperate need of new directions. You know, the old ones simply don't function. Some of the ways that we create safety now, they don't really function very effectively. There are some old ways that still function magnificently. Things like story, things like emotion, and my favorite, music. You know, I think that any of these things could keep their own in a cage match with like virtual reality or exoskeletons or anything. Some of the old things are the best. What have documentary filmmakers done recently? Well, a friend of mine's documentary literally changed the consciousness of an entire country, the act of killing. Other documentaries have helped change governments. And I, in a very teeny, humble way, have actually changed life for a population that I never knew existed, and I think most of us don't know exists. So here's what happened. 4 years ago, I was pretty much broke, and a friend of mine said, you know, hey, I think I got a job for you. You know how to build websites, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, I know how to build websites. I don't know how to build websites. But the project was kind of cool, and I convinced the guy that we could make a video website, and I know how to do that. So his name was Dan Cohen, and he was a computer training professional, worked for companies on Long Island, and he had the simplest idea. He asked the question, what would happen if we played music for people with dementia? Not just any music, but the music that they had loved when they were young. And it was an incredibly simple idea. And he was having some amazing results. But even though he'd been doing it for 2 years, he was only in 2 nursing homes, and he couldn't seem to make any progress. Trying to change something in a nursing home is a Sisyphean labor, right? It's like pushing a big ball up a hill. You're dealing with a huge documentary. So I got my gear, and I followed Dan into a 600-bed facility. Now, I never knew these places existed. I don't know if you guys know that they exist. This is Dan right here. There are 16,000 of these facilities in the United States. 16,000. I did a little Google search. There are 15 surrounding this place right here. There are 5 million people in America right now dealing with Alzheimer's dementia. And this disease has a course, and most people, when they get to the end of that course, they end up in one of these facilities. Personally, I was not ready for the experience of going into a nursing home. I don't think anybody wants to go into a nursing home voluntarily. When I was a kid, I had ear operations, and they were really traumatic. You know, that lady came with the gas, and she was like, that's how they used to do it, and I was like fighting her, and I swore I would never, ever go into a nursing home, a hospital, ever again. And nursing homes are fairly hospital-like environments. I mean, can you imagine being at the end of your life, having literally lost a lot of your functioning, being unable to filter out your experience, like noises, like that we do every moment, every day. These people have lost that capacity, that ability to control the way things go into their brain. And imagine ending your life in a place completely foreign to you, a place that had nothing of what you had lived your whole life, literally ending your days in a hospital environment. This was my greatest nightmare, and I think it's probably everybody's greatest nightmare. And this world, this country that we live in, I think we know, string of bad luck, a problem here, some finances, it's not outside the realm of possibility that we would end up in this sort of a facility. I met an old man, 94 years old. His name was Henry. He was the first person I filmed. And we found out that he loved gospel music, and Dan got him his music, and we put it on him, and we filmed it. And I'm going to show you an excerpt from my film, an excerpt from the clip that went viral worldwide. I put this clip on Dan's website. He wanted to show something to somebody, so it wasn't like ready to go. It was just like an excerpt. And some kid from Reddit.com found it and started talking about it. And the amazing thing is that my son, when Reddit, the guys at Reddit found it, it had 300 views. My son found it when it had 312 views. And he comes running out of his room and he goes, Dad, your clip is on Reddit. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, some kid named Rad9 did it. He put it up. And so we watched it go from 3 views to 800 that night. And that was just incredibly amazing. We went to bed, and we woke up in the morning, and it was 170,000. And then by the end of the day, it was 3 million. And by the end of the week, it was 8 million. And me and Dan were on CNN, and it was wild. And that clip has actually changed life. It's changed nursing homes worldwide. It's changed the life for thousands and thousands of people already. So I'd like to show you that clip, if I may.
Hi, Papa. Hi, Papa.
Huh?
How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm fine.
Who
Wait.
am I?
Huh?
Who am I? I'm your daughter.
Daughter?
Mm-hmm.
How long has he been in the nursing home? Approximately 10 years. Of course, it affected me greatly. I remember as a child, he used to walk us down the street, me and my brother, and he would stop and do Singing in the Rain. He would have us jumping and swinging around poles. He was, he was good. He was always into music, always loved singing, dancing.
We first see Henry inert, maybe depressed, unresponsive, and almost unalive.
Henry.
Yeah?
Henry.
Yes, sir.
I found your music.
Then he is given an iPod containing, we know, his favorite music.
When I first met him, he was very isolated, and he used to always sit on the unit with his head like this. He didn't really talk to much people, and then when I introduced the music to him, this is his reaction ever since.
Music is not just a physiological stimulus. If it works at all, it will call the whole person.
What does music do to you?
It give me the feeling of love. No man, figure right now the world need to come into music, singing. You got beautiful music in. Beautiful, oh, lovely. And I feel the band of love, dream. The Lord came to me, made me holy. I'm a holy man. So he gave me these sounds. I'll just say, I meet you. Let me see. Rosalie, won't you love me? Rosalie, won't you be sweet and kind?
That was the first person I filmed on making this film. And I cried while I was making that film. While I was filming Henry, I cried. And in that moment, I knew that I was going to make a film. Because to see a human being like this, I'm an artist, I'm a filmmaker, and there's stuff that he did that I didn't have time to show you. He has a beautiful voice. He is a gorgeous human being, and that man sat for 10 years like this. It was the music that we brought him, and that helped him, but it was something more. It took me a long time to figure it out. These people are basically living in a desert of soul. if I gave you your music, a little piece of your past, you'd go, oh, I love that song, that's great. But why were we having this kind of a reaction with these people? Because they were living a life. When people come into nursing homes, many of them just fade. They start to shut down. So we were giving them a piece of themselves back, a piece of their past, a piece of who they were in a place where they didn't have that. So I started making this film, and I made it on a shoestring. I edited it in my bedroom. My wife is an angel. I had 2 guys with me. You know, I live in New York City in the East Village. You guys don't understand constraint of space. You know, I don't edit. I have reached the pinnacle of success in my life. I do not edit in my bedroom anymore. And I'm still married. It was a profound journey because I was dealing with the thing that we are the most afraid of. End of life, death, Alzheimer's disease, things you can't really even talk about. And yet, because we were doing it with music, we could enter that space and not be like scared, because music seems to support you in some way. And then a miracle happened, okay? And I have to give, once again, due to my wife. It was the deadline for Sundance, the night of the deadline for Sundance. And my wife was like, send it. And I was like, honey, Sundance is not going to be interested in a movie about old people and dementia. I don't think they even watch those submissions. And besides, it's $100. I don't feel like wasting another $100. And she was like, send it. I was like, okay. So I packed it up. And I went to FedEx. And it was closed. I'd missed it. I went home. We were watching Grimm, I think. And she pipes up and she's like, the big post office on 34th Street, isn't that open till midnight? And I was like, yeah, it's 11:30 though. And she said, you know, we could drive. And I was like, are you crazy? We'd lose our parking spot. And she was like, okay, come on, let's go. And so we jumped in the car and we started zooming up 6th Avenue. And of course, dead stop traffic 5 blocks from the thing, and it's 11:56, and she's run. And I'm like, I've been sitting here editing for 6 months. I'm in terrible, go! So I run, and I go up those big, huge steps. Does anybody know those steps? And I see them, and there's those big, huge bronze doors, and they're closing them. And I run, I literally dive through as they're closing the doors, and the guy behind me doesn't make it. I think he had a film for Sundance too. Anyway, it gets kind of crazy here because 4,000 films are submitted to Sundance. And this little film that I thought maybe 10 people would see got accepted. And I was over the moon delirious. I don't think I've ever won anything in my life. You know, I felt like I had won something. So they played the film, and grown men were like weeping, coming up to me, just tears pouring down their eyes. And something happened, and our film won the Sundance Audience Award, the best award in the whole film. And now we're opening it in 80 theaters starting July 18th, nationwide. This is insane. It's insane. But here's the real kicker of it all. Because all this is happening, like my original dream that we would change life for these people, you know, it's so simple. All we have to do is change the law, make personalized music, which costs like $40, you know, be reimbursable. The moment we do that, you know, these incredible people called music therapists will have job security, and we'll be able to you know, create a real conversation here. So anyway, Alzheimer's disease, you know, it's just terrible what it does to the brain. And drugs, there is no drug right now that does really anything. There's some stuff coming in the pipeline perhaps, but right now nothing does anything. And music is profound in what it does. If there was a drug that did what music does for people with Alzheimer's, it would be the biggest blockbuster ever created in the history of the world. And here's why that matters, okay? This is the world we live in today. This is the world our children will live in. And the reason that's important is after the age of 65, the incidence of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's increases exponentially. Here's my big idea, this little guy who's sitting in his bedroom editing. Check this out. If personal music could help people age at home, make them happier, make them easier to care for, even let's say 3 months, worldwide, we would save hundreds of billions of dollars. It's no joke. And we can't get a $40 thing reimbursable. Another thing about music is that it creates connections. It creates connections in the brain, and it creates connections to the past. It creates connections between people. It's impossible to experience music without talking about it and sharing it. Disconnection is the root of all pain in the nursing home. And I hazard to say it's the root of all pain in our lives as well. It's painful for any living being to be asked to be a thing, to be an object. I find it painful to live in a country that seems like it's more a business. I find it painful to see elders turned into things that have to be worked on. I began to feel that it wasn't enough to just give music, okay? We needed to create more connection. I wanted to create a way for other people to have the experience that I had experienced, right? I wanted to see a young kid go into a nursing home and help an elder find the soundtrack of their life and leave knowing that they had given somebody something that would be with them for the rest of their life, a source of joy. What I did was I created this app called the Alive Inside app. It's in beta right now. And what it will do is it'll allow a youth, a volunteer, a caregiver, even you for yourself, to create a list of your memory music. But what I really wanted to do is to create that interaction. You know, I wanted to heal that disconnection that we have that's so strong. You know, the young and the old are apart. These people with dementia, they're sort of separated from their souls. Dan was in 2 nursing homes when we started. When this clip went viral, it caused a lot of excitement, and he's now in 650 nursing homes. And that's a pretty amazing thing. And when this film comes out, this whole idea is going to blow up. And I'm not touting my own horn, I'm just saying it's inevitable. It's a simple idea that can help us tremendously. Just in conclusion, I said that this is the most exciting time to be a documentary filmmaker. And for me, what has happened to my life? When I used to want to be a filmmaker, and to tell you the truth, I failed miserably. And I did. And when I just said, okay, forget it, you know what, I'm just going to try and help these people. All of a sudden, everything started to work for me. You know, I was able to become part of something. And I think that's really the takeaway and why I think being a documentary filmmaker right now is so exciting. Because we are part of something. You know, it's our job to shake the world, to help them cry and laugh and dance their way into new ways of living. Another thing that I would like you to take away from this is that we are vibratory beings. I think we forget that in our world today. But we are best when our cells are vibrating, our beings are vibrating, and we are what we are meant to be, which is song. Thank you.